Welcome back, everyone, to the GGBL. Did you guys know LA won the whole entire thing, so congratulations to them. It was pretty much a blowout, man. 4-1. 5 games total. They really took it to Phoenix. That pitching staff for Phoenix, the thing that carried them all season long, just couldn't quite shut down that LA offense. They really just destroyed them. Let's go over here to Phoenix here. Yeah, you can see the last 2 games, 16 runs apiece for both games for LA. They just couldn't shut them down. They got 1 win, 5-3, so they played well there. I thought they played well in the first 3 games, but really let the last 2 slip away from them. I think just overall the pitching staff just was taxed in these first 3 games to the point where they just ran out of gas. The Firebirds, they ran out of gas, and that was going to do it. So LA, congratulations on winning the GGBL championship, and now we're in the off season now. And what I did not show you guys was the awards. So let's take one last look at the awards for the playoffs. I believe you guys were able to see the awards for batting title and regular season awards, Rookie of the Year award, Espino, Oliver, Callaway for the AL side of things. So let's go over here to the playoffs. We got our postseason MVP for the AL would be Jesse Winker, hitting .370, 6 home runs, 15 ribbies. Mendoza and Dietrich, all these guys played well for Phoenix, really pushed them into that finals. And then for the NL, we got Castellanos, Acuna, and Conforto. Of course, the big 3 there for the LA Knights. So the World Series MVP would be Ronald Guzman. So hit .500, 2 homers and 5 ribbies in the postseason. Actually, in the World Series, I should say. So I thought this was kind of crazy. I mean, so what? He went maybe like 5 for 10, maybe 500 batting average, 2 home runs, 5 ribbies. I probably would have tried to give it to Janio Rivera. I think he pitched twice in the World Series. Either way, man, Guzman wins the World Series MVP. And then, of course, your MVP, Juan Soto, 350, 46, and 128. Freddie Freeman on the other side, 297, 42, and 119. Bryce Harper still, again, just went crazy, but he didn't quite have the same type of production that he did last year. 48 homers, 130, where he won the Triple Crown, and 2022 was a little less kind to him. So, guys, that is it for this screen. I'm going to go advance to the next screen, which would be getting into the off season. But I do want to show you the voting form that we have up for you guys that is available now. I'm going to be linking it here in the Premier chat for you guys, as well as the pinned comment below in this video. We're going to be voting on the new uniforms, new stadiums, and new logos in that Google form. So let's talk about that. All right, guys, so let's get into this off-season Phase 1 voting form. So basically, this form is where you can vote on what team you think needs a new logo and what team you think needs a new uniform design. So if you guys had noticed here, the Dallas Hatters are on both questions. You can double dip. You can vote for them twice if you wanted to see them totally rebrand completely. I wasn't too impressed with the way that I did them, so if you want to vote that way, that'd be kind of where I go on it. You don't have to go my way, but I'd like to see them get a rebrand in totality from uniform and logo design. But the other 2 options would be San Diego and Boston for a new logo, and for uniform, you got the Houston Copperheads and Indiana Rams for new uniform. Now, if you scroll down here, you've also got options for a new stadium. These are all stadiums that come with the game, so these are all minor league stadiums. These are not created stadiums. So you got Indiana playing at Industry Center Stadium, Atlanta Sting at Franco Park, Oklahoma Hawks, All-American Park, Pittsburgh at Blue River, and Portland Pioneers at Water Ridge Field. So again, these are all minor league stadiums, custom stadiums built by San Diego Studios. If you guys wanted to vote on one of these options, it is a required question, so you do have to vote for one. This team, that whoever wins, will be getting a new created stadium. It could be something that I create, could be something that I find inside the vault. Maybe you guys have a stadium that you've built for one of these teams that you could recommend to me. And if you do, post in the comment section below. Please let me know if there's a stadium name that you want me to go check out for any team, and I'll do that. So that's it for the form. If you guys could get this submitted by the end of the week, that would be great, because then I can really dig into this thing and finally get a stadium to download and review and take a look at and of course, get some ideas for these new logos and new uniforms for these teams. So that's your form. Like I said, please vote and get those votes submitted by the end of the week. Now, before we get into the MLB players that are coming over to the GGBL, before I reveal those guys, I wanted to let you know if you won a prospect here for the year 2 for the draft. Randy J.K., David Ott, Keneal Mason, Fox Francis Eichten, and SPK25. You guys all won prospects here for year number 2 in the playoff bracket challenge. So remember, you guys, if you guys remember, this was all the way back in November, but these are when these were submitted. But yeah, take a look here. So you got your playoff teams listed here. There's some questions that you had to answer, and you guys won the prospects. So total of 7 points was the cutoff, and you guys all won prospects. So congratulations. And I sent over a prospect submission form to you guys' email. Please let me know if you did not get that. Again, please try to submit your prospects by the end of this week, just so that we can get through this process, and because that's going to be one of the next phases here coming up here pretty quickly. So please get those responses in and submit that submission form, and we'll be good to go. Now, here is your reveal. Dun, 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 dun. Here's your reveal, guys. Boom. These are going to be the players that are coming over to the GGBL from the MLB. So you got your starting pitchers here, relief pitchers here. You got a total of 8, total 7 here for closers. Now, the guys that were listed here, even in white, guys that were highlighted in green are the ones that are definitely coming over. The guys that are listed here in white are in the save file. So they're in our GGBL save file. They're either on teams as like an 11 or 10 overall player, or they are in the free agents. Either way, they're in our save file. I can't guarantee that they'll be in for year 3. They might retire based on ability or poor free agent market, so on and so forth. So there's a risk that we could lose these guys. But what I didn't want to have happen, I didn't want all of these players to come over, because then you're starting to take jobs away from custom prospects, and we kind of don't want that to happen. Plus, it is a little bit unrealistic if every single one of these guys are coming over from the MLB to the GGBL. Now, some people might say that, Vlad Guerrero coming over, Salvador Perez coming over, like, what the heck is this? But you got to think, the GGBL is on the way up. It's on the rise up. And the MLB is on the downslope a little bit because of Rob Manfred's leadership. As you guys know, the MLB's in lockout right now too, right? It's kind of a weird timing that the GGBL is taking off, right? So that's how we're going to run with the storylines for this, is that now, we're not going to throw in the MLB lockout, because if you did that, then everybody would want to come over and play. But basically, the GGBL is on the rise up, the MLB is on the rise down a little bit, so it kind of makes sense that some of these players would want to come over and have some fun, bring fun back into baseball, right? So a couple players that are noteworthy would be guys like Jose Barrios, Aaron Nola, obviously Josh Hader, Salvi, Vlad Guerrero, Pete Alonso, Jonathan India would be a big one, Altuve. Altuve's an interesting story because of all the cheating stuff. He'd probably want to just get away from all that. So he's coming over to the GGBL. Would be a good little player to have in this series. Outfielders, we kind of went a little bit light on outfielders. We had Byron Buxton being the main guy, Yordan Alvarez being another main guy. Most of it's infield, because that's really where the GGBL is really struggling right now, is infield. So we wanted to focus on bringing some stars and some studs in the infield to come over, like Arenado, Ramirez, Chris Bryant, Seager, Baez, Bichette. We wanted to get that infield short up and get some better defense and help these pitchers out, because these pitchers are getting obliterated in GGBL play. So let's go ahead and go over to the MLB The Show screen and talk about how this is all going to work. How did we get all these players back in to the GGBL save file? So basically what I did, kind of like what I did in year number 1, but I'm using Chris Sale as an example here. You can see him in a Blue Sox uniform. Even though he's not technically on the Blue Sox team, he had to be in a roster somehow, because if you put these players in the free agents and you get to the playoffs, you can't move them onto teams. So they're pretty much toast. They might retire due to age or poor ability, and if that's the case, you're never getting them back. So it's important that you always, if you do something like this, it's important that you always put these guys on rosters if you have some intention of bringing them over and bringing them back into your league at some point. So very, very important that you do that. So Chris Sale, as an example here, you can see it up on your screen. I'm basically editing him from the 11 overall that he was. I'm sort of kind of matching what his player card is in Diamond Dynasty. Now, I'm not totally matching this point for point. I'm trying to basically get an overall feel of what the player would be like. You know, he's a little bit older now, right? So you do have to account for some regression for older players and some progression for the younger players that we're bringing over. But there's just an example of what I'm doing with these types of players. So just as another example, you've got Altuve here at a 95, Strasburg at a 90. Both guys for Phoenix. They're not on the Phoenix Firebirds roster. We're going to move them to the free agents now. Now that we've bumped them up a little bit here, plus 78, plus 70, plus 66, you guys get the idea here. So now that they've progressed, we can officially move them over to the free agents. That way they're not going to retire on us. They could possibly retire. That would suck. You know, Steven Strasburg getting up there at 33. He could retire. I don't know that he would as a 90 overall player. You know, I don't think that that's going to happen. But let's go ahead and advance a day here and just show you really quick of how this is all going to work. Here's your list of retired players. You got DeYoung, Garcia, LeMahieu. So these guys we're never getting them back. We're never getting them back into GGBL play. So we kind of have to just go with it at this point. Kind of sucks that some guys we're never going to get, like Brian Hayes or AJ Pollock. AJ Pollock's a little bit old, right? He's 35, but Willy Adames, never going to get him even though he's 27. Harrison Bader would be kind of a good one that we missed out on. Josh Bell is 30. No, we're never going to get him. Kevin Biggio, never going to get him. So you kind of just have to go with it at that point. But hey, good boys. We get a guy going into the Hall of Fame, Robinson Cano. Look at that. But here's how this is going to work, guys. So that now that we have the CPU roster control active and ready to go, that's not active in the postseason screen. So it's active in regular season and in off season. So now let's go to the Phoenix Firebirds and let's go ahead and move. Actually, we have to go to manage roster and get Altuve on the 40-man. We got to get Strasburg on the 40-man so that we can move them up to MLB. And we'll move them up to the MLB. And from this point on, we'll actually fix 40-man at that point. But now I go to player movement and free agency. We'll shift Altuve over for a positional player, Evan White, who's a 9 overall, and Steven Strasburg here for a pitcher, doesn't matter who, Jesse Biddle. So there you go. And there you go. We'll accept the changes, and we will go to actually free agency is here, so we won't be able to notice them. But basically that's how that works, guys. So if we go to CPU roster control again, we'll go to Washington for no reason at all. But Altuve and Strasburg now free agents. That's how that's going to work for everybody up on the free agent list. So let's see, like Adbert Alzolay, he's going to have to get moved over to the free agent list. I believe Tristan McKenzie's up here for New York. Jonathan India. So we got Berrios, McKenzie, Alzolay, and I believe there was someone else here. Jonathan India is up there too. So there you go. So Berrios, India, McKenzie, Castillo, Alzolay, all these guys are going to have to be moved up to the major league level. That way we can move them down to free agency. So now that that's out of the way, we can actually get a look here at exclusive free agent negotiations. Guys that are going to be moving into free agency and they cannot renegotiate their contract. So in this screen in MLB The Show, you can go in here and you can negotiate or renegotiate a contract with the players that you're losing who are exclusive free agents. But as far as the GGBL goes, what we want to do is we want to create some competitive balance. So what we want to do is we want guys that are going to hit the free agent market, we want them to be able to leave so that they can go out and they can test free agency. However, what I noticed and what might be a problem here in the future of this league is when you don't lose players like Carlos Santana, or when you don't lose players like Tommy Canley. When you lose a player such as Tim Anderson, then you kind of got a problem. Or if you start losing players like your custom prospects, who end up getting above an 85 overall, who cannot be renegotiating with their teams, they have to move into free agency. We're doing the wheel spins. They're now one of 30 teams. The Colorado Coyotes are now one of 30 teams that have a chance at getting Tim Anderson. So basically, they might not get him back, right? So you kind of want to implement a new rule into the GGBL so that they have a chance, at least give them an opportunity to talk to Tim Anderson, say, hey, do you want to come back here? We'd really like it if you would. Because most times in the MLB, most times in baseball, a lot of guys, when they're getting ready to test free agency, some guys do, and a lot of guys don't. A lot of guys want to come back to familiar territory. So we want to at least give Colorado a chance to get a guy like Tim Anderson back. So how this is all going to work, guys, is we have to find a way to capture some player voice and franchise voice. Meaning, it's a hard pill to swallow for a team to lose a player like Tim Anderson without any ability to re-sign him. And I can't speak for Tim Anderson, and I can't speak for the Coyotes. We have to let this play out randomly, but we have to still give him a fair shot at getting Anderson back through some form of negotiation talks. So, like I said, in real life, there's no way that a franchise player just walks away like this, right? So there's got to be some dialogue that happens there. So to counter the loss of Anderson in free agency, and even gaining Anderson back, if they could possibly get him back, there's going to be a new rule in place for exclusive free agents. So here's the rule. If a team is losing an exclusive free agent that is an 85 plus overall rating, when this player enters the wheel spin, so we're already in the free agency period, we're already in phase 3. So when we're going into the wheel spin and Tim Anderson's name pops up and he gets on that wheel to determine where he's going to go, his former team, so Colorado, is going to get 5 extra pieces on the wheel to give them extra chances to get him back. If Colorado loses him, the team that gets Anderson must give up their number 1 draft pick, or their round 1 draft pick for this season for the custom prospects. This is kind of working like restricted free agents at that point. Since there isn't a restricted free agent rule in the GGBL, that's kind of how this gets implemented into the league. If Colorado gets Anderson back, they're going to lose their draft pick for round number 1. So they don't give it to anybody, they just lose it, and the team that's behind them gets moved up a slot. So where Colorado was in the draft order, the next team behind them will just slide up a spot. So they're basically being removed from round 1. So this is kind of part of the risk-reward strategy, so to speak. So in reality, it helps teams that lose their best players by getting or gaining a possibility to draft a really good prospect, right? So if they lose a guy like Tim Anderson, they have a chance to draft a player that's going to help them in the long run. That way they're not just totally screwed. And teams that get players like Tim Anderson therefore can't double dip in the offseason by getting a top tier free agent like Tim Anderson and then a top tier prospect in the draft, so they can't double dip. So all in all, it's basically a competitive balance move, and that way teams have a way to re-sign their stars. And like I said, when they become one of 30 teams on a wheel spin to try and get their star back, they're now at a disadvantage versus being able to one-on-one renegotiate that contract. So in baseball, like I mentioned, we don't often see the stars move teams all the time, and more often than not, players they stay put. They like to stay put, and just so that they can get those renegotiation talks to take place. So we want to capture that in our offseason format, and I feel like this is a very fair way to do it. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the new rule here for the GGBL exclusive free agent negotiations. I feel like it's a fair thing to do, and I'm really excited to see how it all plays out. But you can see that Colorado's kind of losing a lot here. So Will Myers would not qualify because he's an 80 overall player. He's not an 85, which is the cutoff. If you're an 85 plus, then that rule would apply for that specific player. So you've got Anderson, Myers, Pedro Baez all going to free agents. LA's not losing anybody to exclusives. Defenders are not either. Grizzlies are losing a lot of depth, I guess you'd say. AJ Ramos, Espinoza, Rojas, they're not really losing a whole lot either. Brock Holt actually going to test free agency, so he'd be a nice little bench guy for any team that is seeking that. Kyle Gibson would be a depth player. He's probably going to have to move to the bullpen at some point because at a 71 and 35, you're probably not going to be a starter for most teams now going into year 3. Alexander King, this is the old Alexander King, not the correct one, so no worries about him. I'm actually going to put him down to like a 40 so we can just get rid of him because that's not Alexander King anymore. Robbie Grossman would be a nice player to add for anybody. McFarland, Maben, depth guys. Trevor May, that's going to be a big one. So they just missed out. So New York just missed out on Trevor May by +2. So 83 to 85. De La Rosa is going to be a big loss. Longoria, Hamels. So guys that were really a part of this team and their playoff success for the last 2 seasons or the first 2 years of this league are going to go bye-bye. So New York, they got to get, I mean, they were kind of old at this point. They got to get a little bit younger. I don't know how this fares for them going into year number 3. Brad Peacock, Santiago, Chavez, Pittsburgh not losing too much. Now, here's one. So Roberto Osuna. So remember, they traded for Osuna to try to get to a playoff run. Now they're losing Osuna to exclusive free agency. They took a risk. He was on a 1-year deal, basically a rental. Now they're risking it. So this would be a perfect scenario. So if Osuna gets on the wheel spin, Michigan's going to get 5 extra slots when Osuna comes up. If they don't re-sign him, the team that does has to give up their round 1 pick for Roberto Osuna and whatever length of contract that they get him for. So that's how that's going to work. So Lucroy, Holland, Rodriguez, Pilar, not a whole lot to worry about there. Chicago not losing anybody. Jose Ramirez, don't worry about Ramirez. He's not an exclusive free agent. So he is one of the MLB players that are coming over here, so he doesn't count. Will Harris, Gamble, those are kind of big pieces for Columbus, so they're losing them. That kind of stinks. Indiana not losing anybody. Will Smith, Pompey, and Kennedy. Minnesota, Santa Fe, Oklahoma not losing anything. Dallas Keuchel was, again, he was another risk for another team here in the GGBL. Las Vegas going to lose a rental type of player. Dallas Keuchel, they were hoping that was going to push them into the GGBL World Series. It just didn't happen. So a team would likely want to go after Dallas Keuchel to help them push to the playoffs, especially teams that didn't make it last year. Probably eyeing a guy like Dallas Keuchel at 35. Seattle not losing anybody. And then we're back here to Phoenix. Nobody here in the East other than Tommy Canley. So Carolina missed out on Canley by +3. 85 to 82. But this is kind of interesting. So nobody in the East, the NL East, nobody's losing exclusive free agents except for Carolina. Dallas, nobody. Evaldi, that's, again, not an exclusive free agent. He's a MLB to GGBL player. So he's coming over. Polanco, Jeanette, Deaza. I don't know if that really hurts Houston too much. Polanco's D potential, he's starting to regress a little bit downward. Jeanette just didn't get any starting time there at the big leagues. Swing not losing anybody. Romine, that's not a big loss. But Arenado, again, another player coming over from the MLB to the GGBL. Also losing David Hernandez. And then we're back over here to Colorado. So, guys, that's going to do it for the episode. I know a very short episode here today. I am going to go through and make sure that the coaching staffs are all signed up for each and every team. This is interesting, too. Carolina's losing their head coach. So they're gonna want to go after what was his name? It's Martinez. Yeah, Dave Martinez. Hello. Yeah, they're gonna want to go after Dave Martinez. He won him a championship. Maybe they let him go. Maybe they don't let him go. I'll let you know how that works out. But also, it's very important that you guys are able to vote on your rebrands. Those rebranded votes that you have this year won't apply to this year. So the one thing I get to show you guys is the new logo for Seattle. Yes, Kasabi was able to get a new logo here for Seattle. You guys voted on that last offseason. And again, just because of how the offseason works, I got to get through this. I got to move through and get these videos knocked out, so I can't wait on people's voting. So he was able to complete a Seattle logo, and it's now up on your screen. I think that that's great. I think that's awesome. I'll let you guys kind of see what it looks like on some players in the next video. But yeah, the logo's done. I think it looks great. I think it encapsulates the gem or the emeralds feel for it. I think it's cool, man. So thanks to Kasabi for helping create that logo. So guys, yeah, vote for the next year's changes. And then, of course, we've got to get home stadiums reassigned as well. So let's vote on that and get these things submitted in. So I'll see you guys on Sunday for phase number 2, where we actually get into the nitty-gritty for contracts, arbitration, and the wheel spin explanation and preview for free agency. So we'll get a nice little list of the free agents that are up on the board to sign. And again, that's going to be working a little bit different this season. I'll explain all that in the next video. So guys, leave a like if you like this thing. I'll see you in the next one. As always, thanks for watching, and peace.